now we have time for a discussion, and I know that the discussion with Zoom are not very easy as they are in presence, but we will try to do our best for this. So, okay, if we can see all the speakers, just to have the feeling to be all together. So first of all, I would like to ask if anybody in the audience has any question or any curiosity, because I think that we touched so many topics and so different one from the other, so that maybe just you have a very simple question to some of the speakers. Andrea is not with us. Okay. Or if other speakers have any question, one for another. I don't see any end. Okay, so because I have a lot of questions, but I don't want to be the only one asking something. So I would like to start with Buddha. Are you with us, Buddha?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. I'm here, Annalisa. Please go ahead.
I would like to know, how is the situation of COVID-19 vaccination in Nepal, in Kathmandu or at high altitude? I think that in remote areas is almost impossible, or what?
Yeah. So you're saying, what is the situation of COVID-19 in Nepal? Is that what you're asking? Okay.
Vaccination, not the epidemiologic problem, but vaccination of
vaccination, immunization. You mean the vaccine?
Yeah.
Okay. So about 20% of the Nepali population, which is about 30 million people, have received both the vaccines, both the shots. And most of the people received the Sinopharm. This is the Chinese vaccine, So 20%, there were some people that in the beginning received the AstraZeneca vaccine from the Indian Serum Institute of India. Then suddenly in India, there was a big problem of COVID-19. So they stopped sending vaccines to neighboring countries, even though we had paid for this. And then the Chinese practically stepped up to the plate, and they have been providing vaccines in large numbers for the population, like in Pakistan and in Nepal. And so I think they have won out on the vaccine diplomacy. So we're getting, and it is preventing severe hospitalization, that is for sure.
And for people living at high altitude, is it possible to get the vaccine or not?
Yes. So they are taking these vaccines to all corners of Nepal. So there, we see these pictures in the newspaper of, people crossing, rivers and in remote Nepal, like Mustang, Manang, in the Khumbu region. So yes, this is happening. Even vaccination drive is happening, and there is very little vaccine hesitancy. People have seen other people die, their relatives, and so there is very little vaccine hesitancy, and vaccination is going on. So hopefully it will continue, and we will not get a variant.
Okay, thank you. And just on a brief comment, I have understood from your talk that now coming to Kathmandu, we have to worry about dengue. Is a new risk coming to Nepal. Okay. Okay, yes. Thank you, Buddha.
Thank you very much, Annalisa.
And as a question about this problem, yes, there is a question from the audience. I think you have to come here to the microphone.
Well, it's not maybe, well, it's not really a question. But first of all, I would like to thank all the participants. It has been very interesting for me to attend this session, although I'm not an expert, and I would like to stress that I'm not an expert. Just out of curiosity, do you believe that in the different fields where you are working, whether it is on plant health, animal health, or human health, the effect of this pandemic is in a way, let's say, positive, at least on one side, meaning that it has enhanced the awareness of the importance of adopting new approaches. And the question is, do you see this already happening or not yet? I don't know if it's clear what I'm asking. Is somehow seeing if there is a, let's say, a positive spillover out of this pandemic, at least from this perspective.
Thanks. So is there from the speaker who wants to answer this question? What do you think about not the dark side of the epidemic, but the light side? So the epidemic was useful for us to think about the importance of prevention, animal health, and so. I think that was a good opportunity to think about a lot of things, but probably we should take opportunity of discussion each other. So the pandemic was also a terrible situation. So humans should not have this kind of pandemic to think about the importance of many things. So we should have think before about this. What is your opinion?
Yes, what I found is that several people left their towns and went back to live in rural areas. Perhaps this is good for the pastoral livelihood that was eroding a lot. So perhaps this is something good. I don't know if it's going to be maintained in the long time, but in the short time was very, very interesting to see people coming back to live in rural areas and in rural activities and also breeding the animals. That was nice to see, but I'm not sure if this will maintain in the long term.
Okay, I think so. But in any case, it was useful to think about a lot of things, but was also a terrible situation. So now I would like to know from Filippo and Giacomo, I don't know which one of you, but what do you think about, you talk about educational programs? Sorry? Ah, sorry, Filippo, I have not seen. Yes, please.
Don't worry. I just wanted to add, speaking about humans in mountains, I'm not sure that actually after the lockdown in Europe, we have a rebound of people on mountains. And we see that they were not very well educated, and the trend of the injuries and mountain rescue intervention kept going up. So I don't see a difference between before and after the pandemic in the human action in this field. But might be too short. It was comprehensible that after lockdown many people would go outdoor. So I think it's too early to say that no, we won't have any effect of the pandemic on this kind of activity.
Yes, from this point of view, you are right. I see also in the mountain where I work, you have shown some picture from Trecine in Avaredo, and when I am in Misurina working just in front of Trecine, last summer and especially 2021 summer, was really very crowded, and we have seen a lot of rescuing around. So there is, and my question was just about this point, so about the educational program. How do you now, also Giacomo has a comment, but I want to ask you, how do you think that we can spread the educational program and information about people going to the mountain, maybe for the first time or what? So Giacomo, please.
Yeah, I want also to, I take just what Filippo say about, and you confirm, no, about a lot of people approach to the mountain, and probably we have a high risk because a lot of people with not inexperience also went to, let's say, more remote location. So some, let's say, also some rescue became more complex compared to the past. On the other side, I would also see some positive side. This, as I was saying in my presentation, foster the introduction of new technology that probably, if you don't have like an emergency event like it was the pandemic, takes more time to be approached. So we talk again more about telemedicine. We talk about some new technology, to support the rescue, also to avoid too many crowded group. This could be the idea of drones, but also from a governmental point level, this for sure can be different in different regions. But at least, for example, in our area, they say in the new report that there is much more support to the healthcare system, maybe compared to other areas, and for sure there is also an attention also to mountainous area. So in this way, we could see that we have learned that we have to cover all the territory, and we have also to delocalize a lot of, let's say, support of the population, not only centralize the services. This could be also a good effect. About the problem that you say of educating the people, this is for sure a big challenge. We noticed this winter, I'm talking now of recreational activity, for example, like in some countries we have shutdown of many recreational activity, like in piste skiing, for example, and a lot of people approached to different recreational activity like of piste skiing or ski touring, and all the equipment went away, but probably there was also some discrepancy between the education level, and so the fact that the people goes to high risk and what the people were thinking to do. We also noticed that probably most of the people, when they approach to recreational activity, they are still a bit scared. I think we have always to work a lot with education in the prevention, and in this all of the association that work in this field can give a big help.
Okay, thank you.
And I would add that for educating these new mountain users, we should give more support to the national alpine clubs, for example, and there is also a figure that is considered nowadays like a elite just only for elite users, that are mountain guides. These are the most expert people going around on the mountains. They know each area, and we should find a way to have higher accessibility to this kind of people for all the people. I know it's very hard. There's a financial point that is to approach, but they have the know-how and the culture of the mountain, and they can easily transmit it to new users.
Yes, of course, even if, of course, the people attending Alpine Club are informed and expert, the problem is how to reach the not expert people coming maybe for the first time to the mountain and going around without any equipment. or even how to give more information to people, like the two girls you mentioned that who died for hypothermia last summer. I have read, I did not know them, but I have read that they were well trained, well equipped, and they just died for a terrible snowstorm, I think. So we have many problems to think about, to try to prevent such accidents.
As we have seen in the pandemics, a good communication can solve most of the problems. If we don't control communication for a good communication, people will not believe us and will not follow the normal common sense.
Thank you. And about communication, also Alessandra talked about communication. So I want to know how do you think, at which point are we with the coordinated strategies and communication you mentioned? And so do you think you have a lot of things to do, or we are in a good point? You should come here.
I can talk about the experience in the province where I work. Was in the late 19th, we started to collaborate with the hunters, because they were the first stakeholder that we identified for the study of infectious diseases. And now there is a very strong network between the institute where I work, the hunters, the gamekeeper, and this network must be grow and included also other professional people. And I think that especially for zoonosis is really important to have a contact and collaboration with the doctors, because sometimes some infectious diseases that came from wildlife are not so well known by the human medicine. I think especially to the vector-borne disease, where if you study it in the animals and the tick, we need to have data from the humans. Otherwise,
yes, of course,
identify the risk area where people can contract diseases in the bite from a tick.
So we have a lot to do. Okay. Thank you. And what about the communication of the problem of the plants? You talk about the rice problem or other kind. So I learned many things today, because really we don't think every day about the animal and the plants, and so we all think about our specific task. But how is the communication of the problem of the plants to the public?
So as for human and animal health, also for plant health, the communication is very important, because good information help also our activities in laboratory, but also in the territory. So the inspector that carry out activity to surveillance and monitoring of plant health. So the good information help its activity, especially for new reporting of pests and pathogens. So the citizen and science is a pivotal aspect also for plant health.
Okay, thank you. And just have you any other question from the audience or from other speaker? I don't see any hand. So just the last question for Bibiana. The same question, how is the communication strategies of all these points about the health, about human, animal, and plants in Argentina, in the Andes?
I think communication must be improved. You know, fake news were terrible during the COVID pandemic. And this kind of bad communication about the blood of the llamas could reach a problem of people killing llamas just to drink the blood. So also in the mountains, the communications are very, very bad, and they have very few people have internet connections. And also most of the communication was by radio, you know, the common one. So it was a big challenge to make the classes in the school by the radio. And it was very, very interesting because several people who are not members of the school community participated. I personally participate in several of the radio programs in the area. But you know, communication is the key for all the planet now, and fighting against fake news is very, very important. And also the importance of the science in communication is particularly important in fine.
Okay, thank you. So it's time to close the session. I thank the audience, I thank all the speakers, and I think that we go home with some message to think about. Thank you a lot to all of you.
Thank you, bye.
Ciao Giacomo.
Ciao.